YouTube, what is going on? Gino Benito here, and just got back this past weekend. It is the end of July 2018. Just got back from SUPERCON in Raleigh, North Carolina. The second year they did this, and the reason they call it SUPERCON is it was having to do with anime and technology and seeing movies. There were some comic book folks there, but it was, in my opinion, a little bit underrepresented as far as retailers go and sellers. Most of the tables were cosplay and stuff like that. It's amazing how big cosplay has gotten. I imagine because it's such a big deal on YouTube, and also it's a good way for people to get attention. If you've got yourself a good-looking doppelganger costume and you're getting stopped all the time with people wanting to take pictures and interview you and stuff like that, so it's really turned into a big thing. There are a lot of stations for people to be able to fix their outfits, like if hair pulled out and something broke or whatever. I imagine also with the technology of 3D printing, people are able to get a lot more intricate costume pieces and things like that. So it really was quite impressive. It's sort of like Halloween, to be honest. Halloween in the end of July. But again, the disappointing thing was, as far as comic book retailers, people selling, there just wasn't as much going on. The reason I went was primarily to try to buy some comics, which was the disappointing part of it, but I also wanted to get some of my books signed by folks that are creators, artists, etc. So what I'll usually do is research who's supposed to be there and pull some books of mine and then bring them and get them signed. And that's kind of what you're looking at. This is Vengeance of Vampirella #1. This has Buzz Setzer is the penciler and inker on the inside of the book. The cover's by Joe Quesada. But anyway, he did the inside of the book, and Buzz, signed it right there. He goes by Buzz now. He doesn't go by, he left off his last name. But anyway, that's him. Very cool book. Again, a little foil on the cover, but one of those iconic covers that I always liked, always caught my eye. The next one I had signed is X-Men Legacy 216. This is Brian Reber did the actual coloring of the cover, and I really have always liked this. This is kind of that orange pop, which kind of has the sunburst effect coming out, which is supposed to be like the psychic, I guess the psychic power. Anyway, he signed it right there. And another reason I'm showing this is if you ever go to buy an autograph or buy a signature at a comic book shop and you want to make sure that it is authentic, these are 100% for sure authentic signatures. What I usually do is, and I did this in this case, I brought another phone that I video cam the signature and take a still of it. And the reason I do that is more because I often like to talk to the creator and get a little backstory as to how long something took or what they did. And a lot of times, if they're not super busy, they'd be more than happy to sit and BS with you. I do know that often you'll find cool little backstories or little quips or things like that, kind of interesting behind the scenes stuff. And that's what I try to do, and that's why I bring the video camera. And also it gives a little bit of a authenticity to it too. If I ever did decide I wanted to sell it, I usually have a still that goes along with it that shows the book getting signed and shows where it's getting signed, so people can compare and know that's the real deal. But anyway, third book is, and I do have that, those videos. It's on a different phone, and the phone's not here right now, so I'm going to get that out. It'll probably be my next video, but I want to show that because there is some cool conversations that I had with some of the creators. This is Flash 159. The penciler in this is Paul Pelletier, I believe it's pronounced. I'm probably butchering that. Anyway, Paul signed it right there. And I gave him a choice of a few books. He wanted to sign this one. Actually, I think it was a good choice because the signature does show up real well against that lightning background. Conan 226. This was a penciler, Jose Delbo, and Jose signed it right there. Jose was one of the more interesting conversations I had. He was there with his wife, and he was also selling his original art from the books, and he had this exact this book, the splash page, the first page that you have, not the cover, but the first page, he had the original art from it. He remembered doing it and had it right there. He's very proud of it. Said it was one of his better pieces of work, he felt. So again, he was talking about it. He showed it to me. It was for sale. It was a little bit rich for my blood. It was $2,000. And although I like Conan, I don't really, you know, I would maybe pay that for like Spider-Man, Hulk, something like that. Conan's a cool character, but again, not $2,000, but it was a nice piece for somebody that's a big fan of his or a big fan of the comic book. That would, you know, be something that they could definitely think about. Next is Harley Quinn 43. This was done by Mirka Undolfo, and her name is right there. Where is it? Right there. And that's her signature. Next is your classic 90s book, which is X Factor 92. This was, a scripter on this was, I believe, John DeMatteis. I know it's listed as two different things. You know, it might be one of those Joe, Jack kind of things, or, you know, John F. Kennedy went by Jack as well. I'm not really sure what he uses as a first name, probably different to his friends as he does professionally. But anyway, he was the scripter of this book. This is your classic 90s comic book. I know across the board what Marvel did is they had these little 3D look cards. This was when cards were very popular, and they stuck it on the cover. But again, it's just your classic book. But he was very nice, signed it, personalized it to me. Next is Larry Hama. Larry did G.I. Joe. This is issue number 52. He was the writer of this, of quite a few of these. And again, he signed it right there. Nice guy. This is Green Lanterns number 48. And this was done by Tim Seeley. He was the writer of this book. His name, once again, is right down there. And there's his signature. One thing to be careful of, and I learned this, not the hard way, I kind of knew this, if they sign in the paint, with paint pens, don't right away slide them back into the bags or the Mylars or whatever, because they will smear. Give them a couple seconds to dry. Once they dry, then it's okay to do whatever you got to do with them. But if you slip them right in, that paint will smear very easily, especially if it's kind of a shiny cover like that. Next is Hulk 332, done by Peter David, or who was big when I collected back in the 90s. He was doing the Hulk run. I know he and McFarlane, I think he came in right after McFarlane, or worked with him. But anyway, that's his signature right there. And that was one of, again, one of his more iconic books. Aaron Cooter is the cover artist for Venom #1. This was, I think, the B cover, if memory serves me right, the Young Guns. Anyway, his name is right there, and there's his signature. So this was one of my favorite SIGs I got. I like this book, and again, it really jumps off the page when it's, you know, jumps off the cover against the yellowish background. Conan 125. This was Bob McLeod. He was the inker for this, and he signed it right there in the back of the boat. And this is probably my second favorite signature. Is Infinity Countdown #1. This was with it was the Rocket Wreck cover, sawing up Groot, kind of going crazy with the chainsaw. He did mention to me that he made a mistake on this cover and the comic forgot to sign it. So he said he put his little symbol right there in the chainsaw. So if you see that little thing there, that's him. But then he forgot to sign the book. But he did sign it for me, put it right there. You know how often they'll have their signatures worked into it. Excuse me. Had to get something there. Anyway, that's that. This and next is, I got to show the inside. This is Spider-Gwen number 25, and this was done by Rob Rodriguez and Rico Renzi. They were the artist and the colorist. And because this cover is it's a swipe, so it's kind of a plasticky cover, they sign the inside of the book because it takes to the marker and to the ink better, and that's their signature right up there. Oops, right up there and right there. I thought that was cool too. As far as books I picked up, real quick, I got in some people's dollar bins, I got Swamp Thing, Future's End, #1. And the reason I've been doing this, like I mentioned, Swamp Thing's getting set to hopefully go into production here, so I've been buying up pretty much anything I can Swamp Thing. Not so much, you know, just in case I want to get something signed or whatever the case may be if a person does get themselves on set. And I'm trying to get the entire Thunder. We don't know what issue is going to become important, so I figured they're cheap books. Might as well, if I see them for $1 or $2, might as well pick up the entire run. So that's issue number 9. Nothing big goes on in that, at least not yet. Next is, I did find this one, and this is, I had a couple 6s, but I didn't have 2 yet. So this is God of Thunder #2. This is the one that features the sword. So it's probably of the series right now, this is the second hottest of the books. 6 is the hottest, and 2 is the next hottest. And then I am trying to get the entire run of Spawn. I collected from 1 to about 30, and then that's when kind of the whole 90s thing happened, and that's when I sort of got out of collecting. But now I'm going back and just picking up old issues. This one I didn't pay $8 for, but they had it marked that way. Sometimes they do that just to kind of make it seem like you're getting a really good deal. I got 41, 44, if you can see it, I hope so, and 51. Sorry it's dark, I apologize. We're kind of one of those days where it doesn't know what it wants to do, stay sunny or stay cloudy. Then I got an old Hulk, a 15 center, number 123, classic battle with the leader. And anytime I find old iconic Silver Age, I try to pick them up if they're less than $10 and in pretty decent shape. This one wasn't bad at all. People are always looking to, just like I'm doing with Spawn, people are looking to do runs. So pretty much any issue it's worth getting, because you'll always be able to find somebody that wants it for one reason or the other, or they just want a placeholder until they can find a nicer copy. This one's okay. This isn't a chip, I don't know, it's just a little color spot right there, but other than that, it's a really really nice issue. And the last book is a guilty to take some of you back. It took me back. The Banana Splits, number 6. If you're like me, you're right now listening to the opening music in the back of your head. This was one of my Saturday morning staples as a kid, sitting in front of the TV watching this and HR Puffin stuff and stuff like that. This was crazy TV. The Banana Splits were basically a musical group that were furries. It's the best way to explain it. They sort of were like the monkeys with costumes on. I bet there was a bitch sitting inside those costumes and shooting this thing. Time after time, I bet they just sweated like crazy. Back then they didn't have, you know, all the technology to keep them cool and stuff like that. But anyway, I love this series. I used to always like the music and stuff like that. It was kind of a beach, sort of a beach theme to them. They were, you know, of course, quote unquote surfers. And there, I don't see how it was possible, but they always had them doing stuff like that and getting into trouble and stuff. I loved this show. But so when I saw the comic, I couldn't let it go. They have a whole series. I think there's about 8 or 10 issues of this. I think this is issue 6. So that's my time last weekend at SUPERCON Raleigh, North Carolina. Thanks for watching. I try to come out with those videos of the creators next week, and I'm heading out soon to get my collection. I'm going to document that, do little road stuff. We'll see what happens. And that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. Gino Bonino. I am out. Bye for now.